Have you ever felt that nagging feeling? That you're capable of more? That your life, your career, your relationships, could be just better? What if the secret wasn't working harder, but working differently? What if a book written decades ago held the exact blueprint you're looking for? This isn't just another book summary. This is the key to unlocking a more effective you. Stay with us. In the next 10 minutes, you will discover the 7 simple habits that have transformed millions of lives. You're listening to Book Smell. Today I'll take you through a story to explain the 7 habits of highly effective people by Stephen R. Covey, which relates to every aspect of your life. Let's begin. Our story begins with Richard feeling stuck. He works hard at his job, but he doesn't feel fulfilled. He loves his family, but he often feels too tired or distracted to really be with them. His inbox is always full, his calendar is always packed, and yet, he feels like he's not really moving forward. He's reactive. When his boss is demanding, he feels stressed. When his kids are loud, he gets irritable. His life feels like a series of reactions to other people's demands. This is where Stephen Covey introduces a powerful idea. He says that true effectiveness and true happiness doesn't come from just changing our outward behavior. It comes from changing our inner core, our character and our paradigms, which are the lenses through which we see the world. Richard's paradigm was, I am a victim of my circumstances. The first 3 habits are all about achieving what Covey calls a private victory. This is the victory we have with ourselves, before we can truly succeed with others. The first habit is be proactive. One day, Richard's car broke down on his way to an important meeting. His old self would have exploded in frustration, cursed his luck, and arrived at the meeting angry and defeated. But he remembered habit 1. Covey teaches that being proactive means more than just taking initiative. It means understanding that between what happens to us, the stimulus, and our response, there is a space. In that space lies our freedom and power to choose our response. So, stuck on the roadside, Richard took a deep breath. He recognized that he couldn't control the broken car, but he could control his response. He calmly called a tow truck, then called his colleague to reschedule the meeting. He used the waiting time to listen to an audiobook he'd been meaning to get to. By choosing his response, he transformed a frustrating disaster into a manageable inconvenience. He stopped being a reactive victim and became a proactive architect of his own day. The second habit is begin with the end in mind. After the car incident, Richard realized he was living his life without a clear destination. He was busy, but was he busy doing the right things? Covey asks a profound question. Imagine your own funeral. What would you want your family, your friends, and your colleagues to say about you? What character would you want them to remember? What difference would you want to have made in their lives? This exercise shook Richard. He sat down and, for the first time, wrote a personal mission statement. It wasn't about becoming a CEO or making $1 million. It was about the person he wanted to be. I am a loving and present husband and father. I am a leader who empowers others. I act with integrity in all things. This mission statement became his personal constitution. Now, before making any big decision, he could ask, is this in line with the person I want to be at the end of my life? He had finally defined his own end, and it gave his present actions profound meaning. The third habit is put first things first. With his mission statement clear, Richard now faced a new challenge. How do you actually live it day to day? He was still bombarded with urgent tasks, emails, phone calls, deadlines. Covey introduces a simple but genius tool called the time management matrix. He divides all our activities into 4 quadrants based on whether they are urgent or important. Richard discovered he spent most of his time in Quadrant I, urgent and important, crises, pressing problems, and Quadrant 3, urgent but not important, some calls, some meetings, other people's priorities. He was ignoring Quadrant 2, not urgent but important. This is the heart of effective personal management. Quadrant 2 contains things like building relationships, long-term planning, exercise, preparation, and personal growth, all the things that align with his mission statement. So, Richard started scheduling Quadrant 2 activities first. He blocked out time in his calendar for a weekly date with his wife. He started going to the gym 3 times a week. He began planning his projects well in advance to avoid last-minute crises. By putting first things first, he stopped letting the urgent tasks drown out the important ones. He was now living his mission, not just dreaming about it. With these 3 habits, Richard had won his private victory. He felt more in control, more centered, and more purposeful. But life is not lived in a vacuum. The next 3 habits are about achieving a public victory, building strong, trusting relationships with other people. Covey explains that you can't have a strong public victory with a weak private victory. You have to be right and strong on the inside before you can be truly effective on the outside. The 4th habit is think win-win. At work, Richard was used to a win-lose mentality. If he won the argument, got the budget, or got the credit, he felt successful. But this often created resentment. A new project came up, and he had to collaborate with another department head, Sarah. In the past, they would have fought over resources. But Richard embraced a win-win paradigm. He saw life as a cooperative arena, not a competitive one. He sat down with Sarah and said, "Let's find a solution that is good for both our teams and for the company as a whole." They brainstormed creatively and found a way to share resources that actually made the final project better than either of them could have done alone. Both their bosses were impressed. Richard learned that win-win isn't about being soft, it's about being smart. It's the belief that there is plenty for everyone, and that one person's success doesn't have to come at the expense of another's. The 5th habit is seek first to understand, then to be understood. This, Covey says, is the most important principle in the entire book for interpersonal relationships. Richard's biggest weakness in communication was that he listened with the intent to reply, not to understand. He was already formulating his answer while the other person was still talking. This hit home when his teenage daughter came to him, clearly upset. His instinct was to immediately jump in with advice and solutions. "You should just," but he stopped himself. He remembered habit 5. He just sat with her, made eye contact, and said, "Tell me what's going on." He listened. He didn't interrupt. He tried to see the world through her eyes. After she had poured her heart out, something magical happened. She sighed and said, "Thanks for listening, Dad. I already feel better." Often, people don't need your advice, they need your empathy. By seeking first to understand, he created a space of trust where his own thoughts, when he finally shared them, were actually heard. The 6th habit is Synergize. Synergy is the magic that happens when 1 + 1 = 3, or 10, or 100. It's the idea that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Richard was put in charge of a diverse team with very different personalities. At first, he saw their differences as a source of conflict. But then he applied the first 5 habits. He was proactive about creating a safe environment. He began with the end in mind of creating an innovative product. He put first things first by giving the team space to brainstorm. He fostered a win-win spirit, and he encouraged everyone to seek to understand each other's perspectives. The result was breathtaking. Their different viewpoints clashed at first, but then they began to combine and build on each other, creating a solution that was far more creative and effective than anything any one of them could have conceived alone. Richard saw that valuing differences is not about tolerating diversity, but about celebrating it as the key to unlocking unprecedented creativity. The 7th and final habit is sharpen the saw. After all this progress, Richard started to feel drained. He was giving so much, he was in danger of burning out. This is where habit 7 comes in. Covey says that effectiveness requires balance and renewal in 4 key areas of your life. Imagine you are a woodcutter who is sawing a tree for days on end but getting less and less productive. The problem isn't your effort. The problem is that you forgot to stop and sharpen the saw. Richard learned he had to regularly sharpen his saw in 4 dimensions. The physical dimension involves caring for your body through exercise, nutrition, and rest. The mental dimension involves learning, reading, writing, and planning. The social, emotional dimension involves building meaningful connections, serving others, and having empathy. The spiritual dimension involves clarifying your values, spending time in nature, and engaging in meditation or prayer. So, Richard made a new commitment. He started running to sharpen his body. He read books to sharpen his mind. He scheduled regular calls with old friends to sharpen his social self. And he started a simple 5-minute morning meditation to connect with his spirit. Sharpening the saw isn't a chore, it's the habit that makes all the other habits possible. It's the fuel that keeps the engine running smoothly for the long haul. And so, our friend Richard was transformed. Not overnight, but gradually and surely. He moved from being a reactive victim of his circumstances to a proactive force in his own life. He went from being busy to being effective. He went from having transactions to having true, synergistic relationships. Stephen Covey's masterpiece isn't about a quick fix. It's about character. It's about principles. It's a timeless reminder that if we want to change our lives, we must first change our habits. And if we want to change our habits, we must first change our paradigms. So, I leave you with this question. Which part of your saw needs sharpening today? What is one small, proactive step you can take to begin with the end in mind? If this story resonated with you, if you felt a spark of recognition, then we invite you to join our community. Please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the Book Smell channel. Your support helps us bring the scent of more life-changing books to you every week. Thank you for listening. This is your host, signing off from Book Smell, where stories don't just entertain us, they transform us.